Sleep paralysis is a horrifying part of reality. Just the idea of going to bed every night, haunted by these unfathomable horrors, is extremely distressing. While I've never experienced sleep paralysis myself, I can just imagine how horrifying and uncanny it can be at times. And I have a lot of respect for people who have to go through this on a daily basis. So when I saw a digital horror series about sleep paralysis, hallucinations, and paranoia, I knew it was going to be good. Perfectly portraying a realistic depiction of something from reality in horror media is extremely difficult. So when I say that a digital horror series called Trespassing has the best depiction of sleep paralysis I've seen in a horror series, you should be impressed. Trespassing was created by the talented creator blackmes on YouTube, who is also known for, Why does this exist? As of now, Trespassing is not finished, with the third installment currently being made. But since the wait will be quite long, in this video I'll just be talking about Trespassing 1 and Trespassing 2. But don't worry, I have a little surprise at the end, so stick around if you want to see that. Alright, let's get into it.
Doctor Note 701-2010. Patient should continue taking his medication until our next appointment in 2 weeks. Recommendations. Patient should record with the camera provided when the hallucinations start again. We will review the footage next time to reassure them that these hallucinations aren't real.
Trespassing 1 starts in a dark room, setting the atmosphere for the rest of the episode. Everything seems normal, just some simple shots of the inside of someone's bedroom. That is, until we cut to a slightly open door. It then cuts back to the same ceiling fan. But this time we can see a silly little figure peeping in to say hi. They ask a multitude of questions to us, such as, "Do you hear me? I need you to listen. I need you to listen to me." And, "You're in those conditions again." And then, a series of photographs of a hallway are taken and then shown. It seems this is some sort of security camera device, and we're taking photos to detect any motion. The photo taking procedure seems to be going normal, it's just, oh my god, it's happening again, of course. After that brief intermission, we're then shown a series of flowers. Before I get onto that, I think it's important to note something that just happened. The phrase, "you're in those conditions again," keeps on popping up and popping up for no apparent reason. This will be relevant in just a moment, but I think it's just important to state it out at this point. Multiple different statements show up across the screen in no apparent order. We can piece a somewhat coherent story through just these statements alone. It seems that someone, or the person who is recording all of this, has an appointment in 2 weeks, which also ties back to the fact that they're in those conditions again, quotation marks. This appointment is constantly brought up during this segment, so it must mean something very important. But the most chilling statement we can see in this segment: "Something awful is in my home." After that, we're then brought back to the same security camera from before, with the same results over and over again. We continue to get the same static imagery over and over again until the camera prompts us to try again. So we do, with slightly different results. The camera finally shows us something else. The tall, lanky figure, reminiscent of what we saw earlier, telling us to listen to it, is still in our house. After that, the flashes become more prominent and more eager to find this creature again, as if it's still there. First of all, I'm sure we could all agree on one thing. This thing is scary as hell. Obvious statements aside, now that I've fully analyzed Trespassing 1 in its entirety and integrity, I can go back to that description that was read earlier. It seems to be some sort of doctor's note dating back to the 1st of July 2010. The person who is recording all of this is a patient dealing with sleep paralysis. More specifically, hypnopompic hallucinations. This doctor's note also gives clarification for various different statements within Trespassing 1, such as, "You're in those conditions again," and "I have an appointment in 2 weeks." Our patient was tasked to record whatever goes on during these hallucinations, which would be brought back to their doctor for further investigation to prove that these hallucinations are not real. The thing is, we don't know if these hallucinations are real or not. By real, I mean if they're just figments of our patient's imagination, or if they're real tangible beings with meat and bones and all that schmuck. But there's one thing to point out that makes this situation even more confusing. Towards the end of the camera flashing section by the hallway, when we finally see our silly little creature, who I'll just call Paralysis for my own sake, the camera still states that there's nothing there, even though Paralysis clearly gets a grasp of the camera and runs off with it. So it's safe to say that these creatures are in some sort of a limbo. They have the power to take control and grasp physical objects, like the camera in this situation, but they're not real. These entities aren't actually there in some way or another. It's really confusing and hard to understand, but hopefully this question will be answered soon.
We'll return after these messages.
Whoa, look, Patreon. Do you like watching me ramble about horrors beyond comprehension while losing my sanity? Well, if you do, you can help fund these videos by checking out my YouTube memberships. Yay! It was originally going to be Patreon, but we don't talk about it. For the low price of literally 50 cents, you can get all these perks that I'm too lazy to list out, so I'll put them on screen. But for the low price of $1.50, you can get all the same perks and videos 3 to 5 days earlier, even maybe a week if you're lucky. You also get to suggest your own video topics with a special shoutouts. And who put that there? I'm actually gonna punch whoever put that there. So yeah, remember, don't feel obligated to actually give me money. Just watching my videos and supporting them and enjoying them means the world to me, especially because I make these videos with a dying heart and my dying dumbass mouse. So yeah, back to the video and all that schmuck. Trespassing 2 starts off exactly where we left off, with the same exact footage and results. We see the same exact sequence of paralysis snatching the cameras from us from Trespassing 1. Even the last statement, a simple word, outside, stays unchanged. The security camera finally comes back online, time being 11:32 p.m. It tries to connect to something for a while, displaying the words out of range. But when it does connect, we see something strange. As of now, I don't really know what this creature is. It could just be paralysis, but I'm not entirely sure it is. All that we do know is it can morph and change its appearance somehow. Either that, or I'm just going crazy. I don't know, probably the second one. After that, we then cut back into the inside of the house. There doesn't seem to be anything in our line of sight, is what I would say if I was a blind dumbass. Let's pause for a second. We finally get a glimpse of this recording's creature. Well, half of it. Something I could tell immediately is that this isn't paralysis. Or at least this isn't the same form of paralysis. We did see earlier that it does have the power to somewhat manipulate its appearance. This could be what's happening here, but I'm not entirely sure. We then see an arrangement of, to be honest, I don't even know. There could be stars, there could be eyes, there could honestly be anything. But after a while, we see something different. I really gotta stop taking dramatic pauses. It's here. This installment is quite a weird one. While it does provide a lot of info, also having the most we've seen these creatures move around and interact, it raises a lot of questions while also leaving the prior questions unanswered, leading us to conspiracy for now. Something that hasn't been answered though is whether there are multiple different anomalies stalking the recorder, but a theory I have is that this anomaly that we've been seeing throughout the recordings is the same creature. I know I said I doubt that, but during the first half of Trespassing 2, we can see Paralysis going through some sort of metamorphosis, transforming and somehow morphing its appearance. So I think the creature that we do see at the end of Trespassing 2 is still Paralysis. But I might be wrong.
Even though I always remained a skeptic, this place is very special. Fenston, Missouri has more accounts of paranormal activity than any other haunted town I've ever visited. Every 5 to 10 people I spoke to had an experience of their own, all being very similar to each other, and almost every single one told me that the local police had no interest in investigating it whatsoever. Described as if they were completely ignorant to anything actually occurring in the area. And let me tell you that Fenston isn't a small town. It has a population of over 10,000 people. And if every 5 out of 10 people within the population have reports of paranormal activity, I believe it'd be hard to ignore, right? I didn't see anything myself while visiting, but something really strange is happening in this town.
Even though I've covered all of Trespassing so far, there's one video that I've yet to talk about. If you look on blackmes' channel, you can find a playlist called the Fenston, Missouri Collection. As we could already tell, Trespassing takes place in Fenston, a city in Missouri, that being our only closure of where this series takes place. This playlist includes Trespassing 1, 2, and a video I've yet to cover, Fenston, Missouri Ghosts for School. Our longest and most insightful video yet, actually, which may come as a surprise since this video isn't by the same person who recorded Trespassing 1 and 2, our paralysis patient. It's instead by a totally different person, a kid actually, who made this video as a paranormal presentation for school. We'll talk more about that a bit later, and without further ado, let's get onto it. The Fenston, Missouri Hauntings. Video by Tony G and my sister Michelle G. Fenston, Missouri is located in Cooper County. Established in 1876, Fenston, Missouri has become infamous for the incredible ghost stories that have come from the town. But these stories aren't just stories. Alright, so what's up with this video? Basically, our narrator, Tony, tells us about multiple different ghost stories that originated from Fenston. Real or not, we don't really know. The thing is, he's just presenting them to us whether we like it or not. So we might as well enjoy it. Ghost number 1 is called The Spirit of Rage. Photographed here in 1897. Not spotted by the photographer or anyone else. This figure is very tall and lanky. This photo was taken in 1894 by Charles Lorindo. Lorindo said the mysterious figure hadn't been spotted when the photo was taken, but he noticed after 72 hours that the figure had mysteriously appeared into the photo. It even has a reflection. In 1912, there was a man named Arthur Clarke, a family man, father of 6 children. He wrote about a demon in the sky. Anytime he would look at the stars, he would see this demon and feel an uncontrollable rage. Afterwards, Arthur Clarke slaughtered his entire family after seeing this demon. The last thing he wrote called the demon a spirit of rage and claimed the stars were its eyes. The only time the ghost is spotted happens on the night of a terrible murder. The last photograph containing the spirit of rage. Until recently. The most recent video recorded by James A. Collins. The video is pretty corrupted, but we spliced what was recoverable. It's kinda incoherent and seems to have text added by James. The video is unfortunately in black and white because of the software we used to detect faces or something like that. Stars in the sky are just that, stars. I can't do anything to help you. Please stop talking to me. Unlike the last ghost, the next ghost has almost no info about it. Ever since the starting days of Fenston, rumors would spread around about ghosts knocking on doors. All kinds of doors. People even said they heard knocking on their bedroom door, despite being alone. Nobody has ever recorded footage of the mysterious doorman, except for a man named Todd Larrick, who was found dead because of starvation. The only footage we could recover showed us all we needed to see. Weirdly, with some text added by Todd himself, almost identical to James's video. Todd was trapped in his room and couldn't escape, but he recorded the only footage of the doorman. We may never know what this ghost is. The next ghost we'll be talking about is even more mysterious than the previous. This is some Dr. Seuss level rhyming, holy shit. But I don't know a thing about this one. I don't know if it's even real. It was recorded by a man who claims to be from Fenston, Missouri. That's all I know. But watch. The man claims that the face came out of his wall and started leaking water everywhere. Pipe damage was found. Fun fact, did you know that 90% of the corpses found on the streets of Fenston, Missouri disappear without a trace? Guess that fact isn't so fun, but that leads us into our next ghost mystery. In 1967, a corpse mutilated beyond recognition was discovered, tied to a lamppost west Aurora Avenue. The town called it the Fenston body, or just the body. Oh, and there's a warning, yeah, whatever, okay. Oh my god. The picture was taken in 1967. The body was respectfully buried and forgotten about. Until... more graphic imagery coming up. Beware. I mean, it can't be that bad. Holy shit. The corpse was discovered again in 2007. After retrieval, it somehow vanished. Local authorities went to search the original burial for the man. Upon investigation of the original casket, police found the bodies 24 people who were reported missing 2 to 3 days prior. All victims were witnesses of the body. Authorities say that the ground was bulging before they dug it up, and the original Fenston corpse was never found. And that's basically all of Trespassing so far. Every installment so far has provided a piece of the puzzle in one way or another, but I feel like Fenston, Missouri Goes for School is probably the perfect way I can end off talking about Trespassing. It's somehow my favorite installment yet, which is surprising because Trespassing 1 and 2 are really good. But this installment is just jam-packed with so much information, and I cannot stress that enough. If you look deeper into the Fenston, Missouri collection, you can find 2 other videos, Face in My Wall and Kindly Open for the Doorman. I won't be going over these videos since they are in Fenston, Missouri Ghosts. This entire video is one big compilation with some other things we've never seen before, spicing it up a bit. And I really appreciate the extra effort that's been put into this. It also makes my job much easier. And that concludes Trespassing so far. But before you go, I have one thing left. Trespassing 3 is still being worked on as we speak. It will take quite a while to be finished, but I'm sure the wait will be worth it. In the meanwhile, as of making this video, I got in contact with blackmes, the creator of Trespassing. We spoke a bit about the video, and then I asked him if I could ask him some questions about trespassing, sort of like a Q&A that I could put in the video. And he responded with a yes. So now I'm gonna go through all the questions I asked him and his answers. Just a little fun thing I planned. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so first of all, what inspired you to make Trespassing?
At first, the first version of Trespassing was a huge inspiration. I felt like it was something I worked hard on and wanted to finish, but never actually got the chance to. At the time there were things going on in my personal life that had a huge part in the development of the first video, which is why everything feels a bit unhinged, if that's a good way to describe it. It's not clear what exactly was happening then though, which was intentional.
Alright, yeah, the first Trespassing definitely feels like a random nightmare you had, but when you wake up, you can barely remember anything about it. Number 2, what was the hardest part of making Trespassing, and what was the most fun part?
The hardest part about making Trespassing was trying to make it scary while disconnecting it into its own original thing. After making horror for so long, I've become desensitized to it, so trying to make something scary when I didn't find it scary was super hard. Rendering times in school also got in the way. Also the design for D29 also went through a few changes, and trying to create something decent made me want to bash my head in a wall, but I'm pretty happy with what came out. My favorite part I think had to be animating D29 taking the camera in the hallway. Still my favorite scenes in the series alongside with a bed scene in part 2.
Did the idea or plan for the episodes change in any way during production, or was there always a roadmap in mind?
Definitely. Before Trespassing 1 was finished, it was originally gonna be about the guilt of a drunk driver after killing someone, just a TWF rip-off I guess. You can definitely find leftovers of this in the video, but it still matches the current story, so I'm not too worried about it. Trespassing 2 or the entire series as a whole was gonna go a very different route. The series was gonna be very art-focused, and Trespassing 2 was originally gonna be a 6-hour video of a bedroom as the sunset, with spooky things mixed in, and in super glad I never went that route. The render times would have been absolutely MUTS also. Nobody wants to watch a 6-hour video where almost nothing happens.
What are you most proud of in Trespassing? Anything really, like creature design, scare factor, anything you're really proud of how it turned out?
Honestly, I rewatched Trespassing 1 and 2 and didn't really like them. But if I had to choose, I think the sound design in 2 was really cool. Most of it was just recorded from my phone. The scene from under the bed is also a scene I'm proud of, but anything else I'm not that big a fan. Besides the monster design, I love him like as my own child. I've taken what I didn't like about the first 2 and improved on that in the third one. Trying to make more cluttered, realistic environments is probably the main goal for the third one. The first two were very rushed, only taking me a week for each video. I will try to take my time with trespassing 3. It'll definitely be my most ambitious project yet.
If you could change anything about trespassing 1 or 2, what would it be?
Obviously I'd take my time with both episodes, but the one thing that really bothers me is trespassing 2's audio. In a rush to upload the video, I forgot to compress the audio, so if you watch trespassing 1 and then 2, you'd notice the audio is high quality for no reason at all. Also, I shouldn't just uploaded both videos into one, because trespassing 2 is just a direct continuation of trespassing 1.
Oh, alright. The audio quality in 2 is noticeable, but it doesn't take away from the experience in my opinion. Only got 2 more questions. Number 6. Do you have any other plans for trespassing after the main series is over, or will that be it?
Trespassing is an isolated incident, but definitely isn't the only one. All the videos in the Fenston, Missouri collection are canon to the trespassing universe, but aren't related to the main victim's experience. I'd love to focus on other ideas within this story, and focus on the doorman facing the wall and this guy here.
So, last question. It doesn't really have to do with trespassing, but I feel like it deserves a place in this interview. Number 7. Do you have any advice for people wanting to make digital horror such as trespassing, or anything really analog horror related?
Don't make it just for views or to get popular. Make something because it's fun and makes you happy. Get creative and try things that you normally don't see in the analog/digital community. I feel there's a lot of stuff that's just made because it's trending and that can turn people away from your series and digital horror as a whole. Also, my entire budget for trespassing so far is only a few dollars. It doesn't take much to make something really cool.
Trespassing is one of the most eye-opening and horrifying pieces of media I've ever had the pleasure to talk about. There's so much in this simple little series that just speaks to me. As I said at the start, I've never experienced sleep paralysis in my life. But if this is coming from someone who has been through this, my wholehearted respect goes to everyone who has to deal with sleep paralysis, hallucinations, heck, even schizophrenia. It's all so polarizing to me. And this series is a prime example of implementing real-life problems, things and pieces of our reality into horror media. Because trespassing does it damn perfectly, and I can't stress that enough. This series is amazing, and I can't wait to see more. Oh yeah, thanks for 3,000 subscribers.
Yeah, this skinny fucking friend.